Hi guys, I really enjoyed getting to know you through the discussion boards, and I look forward to seeing your kind of first projects in Photoshop. This week they have a separate video that kind of goes over adjustment layers and blending modes, and so here I want to really talk about making selections, non-destructive editing, and how you can, kind of move things out from your background. So I have this image here. Anytime you have a new layer, don't forget that it's going to be locked, so I can just click on the lock to unlock it, and I'm going to click and drag this down into my new page icon. That way I get that copy. So it's up to you in your image what you want to remove. For this one I'm going to try to get rid of this tree. Know that trees are generally pretty difficult to work with. Maybe I want to get rid of the background and that way I can bring in a new one. But you'll want this object to be used in your projects. So really think about what you're trying to select out. This way we can just put it into your piece without having to deal with the entire image. Alright, so selection tools, hotkey W, we have our quick selection tool and our magic wand tool. These are very similar to each other. Your magic wand is going to be more of a click and let go, where your quick selection is going to be a click and drag. So what the magic wand tool does, I'm going to click and let go. You can see now I've got these marching ants. It's made a selection. What it does is it takes wherever you've clicked, recognizes that pixel information, and tries to grab pixels that are of a similar color around it. Now you can always adjust the tolerance. The tolerance is how many different tones, shades, tints of that color do you want it to grab. So sometimes you might see that even if you click on a blue, it grabs green. You can turn the tolerance down. Now, with anything selected, and I'm just going to hide my bottom layer so we can't see it, you might want to delete the background. Okay? Now for your assignment, make sure you keep the original and a layer so that I can see what you've actually removed. But when you hit delete, you're going to see we can remove the background. Now if you get an error saying cannot delete, must rasterize the image first, that's pretty common. You'll just right mouse click on your layer and go to rasterize layer. When you bring an image into Photoshop, it recognizes it more as a whole than the sum of its parts. So when you rasterize the layer, now Photoshop can break it down and remove things as it sees fit. Anytime you have a selection, you can't do anything outside of it, so we want to deselect. You can always go to select, deselect. I like to do a command or control D, and now you'll see the marching ants are gone. So our quick select, again, similar tool, is going to be more of a click and drag. Now with your quick select, you can use the brackets next to P to make your brush bigger or smaller, but then you can click and drag. Now, let's say I didn't want to get this kind of more brown. We can always add to a selection or subtract with either tool by holding Alt or Option on your keyboard. You'll notice the mouse kind of turns into a negative sign, and then I can click and drag to remove that from my selection. You can hold Shift to add, or by default the tool is generally in an addition mode. So I could delete that. You may see like, oh, I have some information here. That was probably a selection from my magic wand. So just as you're doing things, make sure to check that everything is clean. So I'll do a command or control D to deselect. Some other tools that we have that you might find beneficial, we have our lasso tool. There are 3 different versions of it. The first one allows you to just kind of freely draw. The second one has, straight lines to create your selection. And the third one tries to recognize color information and where they're highest contrasting. Any of them can work. It's up to you which one you kind of prefer. But I'm going to show you magnetic lasso. So with this, I'm going to click and let go to start, and then you see as I drag, it's creating points along the way where it thinks you should be putting them. I can always click on the way to add my own points, but it's making its own selection. Whenever you have your selection complete, you want to always finish where you started, and you can close it that way. You can also hit enter. Now, I did that very quickly. If you were to take your time a little bit more, you can see it will really grab those contrasted areas. We do have our marquees if you want to make a standard size, rectangle or elliptical selection. But those are the main kind of ways that we're going to make selections. So once I have this, of course, I could always just use my eraser. Make sure you're actually on the layer that you want to erase. I can erase any extra information that I know I'm not going to need. But as I'm doing this, know that this is destructive editing because I can't bring this back. Yes, I can always do an undo, but let's say I did this, I've been working with different tools. I can't bring it back. So a lot of times we use masking. I think kind of the easiest way to show how a mask works is with an adjustment layer, because then I can really change the colors and you can see. So let's say I want this little tree to be my main selection. I make the selection, then I'm going to do a hue saturation. Let's try to make it something really ridiculous so you can see. All right. So you know that because I made that selection first and then did my hue saturation, it's only affecting that one spot. Now we have a mask on this layer, and you can use masking when you're removing objects, when you're doing adjustment layers, but when you see this, whatever is black is not affected, and whatever is white is affected. So you might have to take a really close look. There's a white dot in the middle there, and that's telling you what this tree is. So what we can do is click on the mask. You'll know it's selected if you see this kind of bounding box in white around it. And then we can paint with black or white to add or subtract from it. So you can hit B on your keyboard for your brush tool. Make sure I'm in my regular brush tool and get a regular brush. All right. You can look down here to make sure you have a white. So I have white selected. Now, anywhere that I paint with white will add the adjustment layer or the hue saturation to it. So I'm not changing anything, I'm not ruining anything on the layer, I am just using the mask to add to it. And now when I let go, you can see how much more is affected by the hue saturation. So this is our non-destructive editing, because I could always go in here with a black brush and bring it back. It doesn't matter what tools I've used in between, I can consistently go back and forth. So this, I highly recommend you kind of get used to using masks. They're going to come in handy for multiple reasons. Probably one of the best is you can always go back, right? How many times have you thought you had a great idea or something and you did it, looked perfect, saved it, moved on, and then you realized, wait a minute, I want to do something different, but now I have to start over because of what I did. Okay? And you can still use your selection tools with the mask. So let's say maybe I'll use my lasso or my pen tool. I have another video on the pen tool for you to take a look at. But say my lasso, and I'm just going to go around here, try to get closer to the tree branches. And again, I'm doing this a little bit quickly so you can get the point. But once I've got my lasso, then I can paint this outside. Now whenever we make a selection, it's whatever is inside the selection that counts. So we can always go to select and then inverse. Now if we zoom out, you'll see the bounding little marching ants are on the outside. Now I can paint with black and remove that mask from that area. Okay? So you do need to kind of play around with these tools a little bit before you put them into play with your assignment, but I think it's a fun kind of opportunity, so maybe take one of your own images, an image of your friend, whatever you want to do, and play around with these tools to see what you can create and then apply it to the assignment. And of course, if you ever want me to go over any tool in specific, let me know. I'd be happy to do a video, or if you have any questions on the assignment. Other than that, I look forward to seeing what you guys come up with.